Court slams qualified immunity. Here's how this protects your rights. If you have ever wondered whether you can hold officials accountable, stay with me. In the next few minutes, you will see how a recent ruling keeps the courthouse doors open. You will also learn what that means for regular people in real life. Qualified immunity is a judge-made rule in civil rights cases. It shields government officers from money damages unless they violated clearly established law. Clearly established is the phrase that decides most of these cases. The Supreme Court built the modern test in a case called Harlow. Years later, another decision called Pearson refined the framework and gave courts flexibility. That flexibility matters because judges can choose which question to answer first. They can decide whether the right was clearly established without deciding if a right was violated. Or they can decide both, step by step, when the record allows it. Here is the problem critics point to. Clearly established is often applied so strictly that it demands a very close prior case. If the facts are new, plaintiffs can lose even when conduct looks obviously wrong. That can feel like a loophole to people who were hurt but cannot find a near-identical precedent. It is why qualified immunity is debated so intensely in legislatures and law schools. But the rule has limits, and courts do enforce them. A recent federal appeals decision shows how. When the facts point toward excessive force, judges can deny immunity and send the case to a jury. That is exactly what happened in a case called McMurray v. Weaver. It involved a school police officer accused of using excessive force on a student. The trial judge refused to grant qualified immunity on the record presented. The officer appealed, asking the higher court to shield him before trial. The appellate panel reviewed the evidence in the light most favorable to the student. Then it affirmed the denial of qualified immunity and allowed the case to proceed. In plain English, the court said there is enough here for a jury to decide. Let's put the receipt on screen so you can see it. You will notice the case caption at the top of the opinion. You will also see the key line highlighting that the denial of qualified immunity is affirmed. That short sentence carries major meaning for the people involved. How do courts reach a result like that? They ask two questions, sometimes in either order. First, do the alleged facts show a constitutional violation if a jury believes them? Second, was that right clearly established at the time of the incident? If the answer to both is yes, qualified immunity does not apply. If the law was not clearly established, the officer is shielded from money damages. If there was no violation at all, the case ends for that reason. Pearson allows courts to answer the clearly established question first when it makes sense. Sometimes judges do this to conserve resources. Other times, they decide both questions to clarify the law for the future. What does an affirmed denial actually do? It does not award damages. It does not declare the officer liable. It simply means the lawsuit moves forward like a normal case. The parties can take depositions, review documents, and test the evidence under oath. A settlement can happen, or a jury can hear the facts at trial. Appeals can still come later on other issues. But the shield does not block the courthouse door at the start. Now, shift the lens to you. Imagine you are a protester recording an arrest, or a bystander who gets pushed while asking a question, or a student restrained in a way that feels excessive and unnecessary. When a court denies qualified immunity, it unlocks discovery you could never get on your own. Body camera footage, incident reports, and training materials can be ordered into the record. Witnesses can be compelled to testify under penalty of perjury. Supervisors can be questioned about policies and prior complaints. Those facts are how accountability becomes more than a headline. There is another important guardrail to keep in mind. Qualified immunity protects reasonable mistakes in gray areas. It does not protect conduct that a reasonable officer would know is unconstitutional. That is the balance the doctrine tries to strike between accountability and hesitation. The recent ruling shows courts are willing to say no immunity when the facts warrant it. It also shows why clear law and good documentation matter for everyone. Here is the practical takeaway. If your rights were violated, talk to a licensed attorney as soon as you can. Save copies of photos, videos, and medical records. Write down names, badge numbers, and timelines while they are fresh. If a lawyer files a civil rights suit, be ready for a long process with several stages. A denial of qualified immunity early on is a green light to gather proof. It is not a guarantee of a win, but it keeps the path open. Bottom line, qualified immunity is narrow when rights are clearly established. Courts can and do reject it when the evidence meets the standard. That keeps the promise of accountability alive in real cases, not just in theory. And it means citizens can seek answers in front of a jury when the law is clear. If you want plain English updates like this with real case receipts, join our free email list. Drop the word "update" in the comments so we know to send you the next one. Share this with someone who cares about civil rights and honest policing. Laws vary by state, and every case is different. So this video is educational, not legal advice. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.